as you can probably tell, I don't know if I'm covering the microphone, there we go. My Sjogrens is just getting me, it's beating me down. I still haven't seen a specialist. My diagnosis was in the last week of April, sorry. And we're now nearly in the second week of June. So I've already been 6 weeks and not seen anyone. Since I've last done a video, I ended up in hospital for 3 days. Basically, it started off like it is now. Since then I've had some not so bad flares, but my flares are really bad. I will feel really exhausted. I will have a headache that never goes away. I will sleep all day, and it's just my entire body aches and feels exhausted even though I've not done anything. People who don't have Sjogrens would not know what it feels like, but to even describe it, it feels like you have the flu, but you don't have the runny nose, basically, or the cough, or the sore throat. But you have everything else. The aching. So I ended up in hospital in the middle of May. I was kind of in and out of consciousness. I couldn't stay awake. My headache was so bad I couldn't open my eyes very much. I basically went to the A&E at the hospital where the specialists are, but had a terrible experience because I said that I was in extreme pain. They saw me in my wheelchair, thinking, oh, well, it's obviously comfortable, which it not. At the best of times, especially in a flare, I was crying, I was upset. I basically waited 5 hours and hadn't even been triaged, and we ended up leaving. I came home, I was so tired. I had about 3 hours sleep, and then I woke up in a cold, shaky sweat, completely soaked through. I felt really unwell. My husband called the ambulance, and they basically said my heart rate was very high, my oxygen levels were low, my blood sugar was very high, and I'm not even diabetic. It was 11.8. That they said that could be why I had the headaches and the sweating, and I don't know. So I ended up being admitted into my local hospital, which I usually avoid because they're rubbish, but on this occasion they were very good. I had a CT scan of my head, which came back fine, which was no surprise, as it always usually does. They didn't really listen about the Sjogrens. They kept saying that they asked for my diagnosis letter, which I didn't have on me, and so they didn't really seem to believe I had it, although eventually they did seem to, because they kept saying when was I going to be seen by the specialists, and at that stage I had no appointment, so they chased that up for me. I was in 3 days. My oxygen levels were up and down. My blood pressure was quite low most of the time. My headache eventually eased, because the only thing that seems to get me out of a really bad flare is IV, paracetamol and fluids. That's because my body shuts down. When they tried to put the cannula in, my veins had collapsed, and because everything in my body was inflamed and hurt, trying to get a needle in your vein when you're inflamed is like trying to wipe an open wound with like alcohol cleaner stuff. It hurts. So, yeah. So my mum, thankfully, has been battling with the hospital for me because I've had no energy to. I've been really despondent about all of this because there is actually Sjogren's specialist at my local hospital, but her waiting list is September and I can't wait that long. We're contemplating about seeing her privately, but she costs a lot of money. And it seems crazy that we'd have to do that when she has an NHS clinic. The specialist I actually am seeing when I got the appointment is it's the 18th of July, so it's still over a month away. I'm now having one flare a week, so I spend probably half the week in flare and recovering, and I only get half a week where I don't feel quite so bad. My eyes are very, very sore. They've put me on new eye drops, which is stronger. That's the eye clinic. My mouth is still very dry, but I'm just trying to drink lots of water, and I still have my humidifier. My nose is dry, and one nostril's now blocked. Only it's worse at night time. I also recently saw the ENT doctor he was okay last time, but I used to have an amazing doctor who did all my surgery for my sinuses and my nose, but he left, he retired. And this new doctor had the worst attitude I've ever come across of any doctor ever. When I went in, he showed me my scans of my sinuses and he said they were clear, which is obviously good. But he kept saying, so you don't need an operation. Do you think you need an operation? Do you want an operation? And I'm thinking, he's acting like I've gone there with the agenda of wanting an operation. I mean, who wants an operation, especially when I'm this ill? I do not want to be put through an operation. So I said about my blocked nostril, because last time I saw him, he said there's an adhesion up there, but it wasn't bad enough to worry about. But things have got worse, and he literally put a plastic nostril opener at the bottom of my nose, had a quick look with the torch and said, oh, it's fine. Whereas last time to see it, he put a camera up there. He said that there's a different spray I can use instead of the Sterimar, and it's a moisturising one. He said, but you can get it from Boots and blah blah blah. And I said, well, I get my nasal sprays on prescription because I use so much of them. And he said, well, I've never heard of your spray being prescribed. And I said, well, I've had it for the last 3 years, so, and my husband has it too, and he's at a different doctor's surgery under a different doctor, so he just had a bad attitude, and he was running 25 minutes late, and he didn't apologise, and then he had to print out the list of all these different nasal sprays, which I thought would take a few minutes. It took him 10 minutes, so I had to wait in the waiting room for that long. It meant I had to pay extra for parking, and I was just so angry. Then I spoke to my GP about this pain and my headaches being constant, and he said there's a medication that he prescribes for people who paracetamol doesn't work but can't have opiates like me. And I thought, great, and I thought I better just check what it does. And it said, how side effects, because I've got mast cell activation disorder and I've got allergies and I'm always allergic to things, I thought I'd check the most obvious side effects just in case. And the very common side effect is dry mouth. Which obviously I've already got one, and if I have it any worse, I literally won't be able to swallow. So, and that's what I'm having problems with too. I'm choking a lot. I'm swallowing and there's no saliva there. The ENT doctor told me that it's not his speciality, the pain I've got or my nose problem. Even though his ears, nose and throat, he said nose is not his thing. So, so I'm getting nowhere. I have joined the BSSA, which is the British Sjogren's Syndrome Association, and they've been great. There's a support group actually in Cambridge, which isn't too far from me. They sent me lots of information, really good booklets on it, which I can take to my medical appointments, because the doctors all claim to know what Sjogren's is, but don't really. Like, my gastro doctor didn't know. The ENT doctor claims he knew what it was, but had got a lot of stuff wrong about it. I've noticed also that my stomach's really affected, which we thought it was, but if I eat in the morning before 11 o'clock, I get terrible diarrhea and pain, and nothing stays in my stomach. It aggravates it, so I think it's just too dry. It needs like a few hours of drinking water to work properly and not hurt. So, I don't know. I'm so fed up, because this is like, every day I've got a headache, every day I ache, my neck still hurts, nobody can tell me what's wrong, or how to get rid of this pain, or if it will ever go away. But it's an added thing on top of everything else with my EDS. My POTS has also been really bad. Every time my Sjogren's flares, which is almost every day, even just a tiny bit, my POTS goes bad, so my heart rate's been high, even though I'm on the Avabradine. I do actually need to remember to chase the cardiology team at Patworth, because I was supposed to be referred to them in March, and I've heard absolutely nothing, and it's now June. Although they have moved hospital buildings, and so that's kind of probably why. I'm sorry this video is me lying down like this, but this is the only comfortable position I can find. And I've just been so tired this afternoon. I just hate this. So any advice would be appreciated. And I'll let you know how I get on. Speak to you soon. Bye.